Hey guys, Chad Trofgerben here. In this Flash tutorial, I show you how to do a frame-by-frame walking animation. This tutorial has been requested for quite some time. Ever since I released my walking animation with the Bone Tool tutorial, many people have wanted a frame-by-frame walking animation tutorial to go along with that. So why would you choose frame-by-frame over bone animation? Well, if you have Flash CS3 or below, you won't have the Bone Tool, so you might have to use this method no matter what. Also, bone animation versus frame-by-frame animation has different qualities to them. So you might be looking for a slightly different look to your animation that frame-by-frame can provide. Either way, what you choose to do, I will try to convey a method here in this lesson that is both streamlined and good looking. I won't be going through the entire process on how to do this animation. I'll show you the legs, and from there you should be able to apply that technique then to the arms and so on. This tutorial will also be a bit more lengthy. It's just unavoidable with a subject like this. So if you're looking for something quick and easy, this might not be it. Also, given the live nature of this tutorial, my example might not look like the best in the world. However, it should give you a good idea of the process, and from there I expect you guys to go through and add in all the details that I really can't during this lesson and polish it up for your own productions. The first thing you need to do is draw out a character or bring a character into a blank document. As you will see, my character is a symbol. And if I double click on this symbol to go into it, you'll see that I have a bunch of different symbols that make it up. So I have a head symbol, arm symbol, leg symbols, and so on. I will be working with this framework when we start applying the frame-by-frame animation. So you might want to construct your character to be the same. Next, I will be using a reference for this animation. What I did was I went on Google and I searched for walking animation GIF or animated walking GIF, whichever works, and I came up with a bunch of different animated images that feature people walking. I advise you do this, especially if you are just beginning this process, because by using a reference and seeing how someone walks, it can really help you when applying similar techniques to your own work. So download one of these walking animations and import it into Flash. And to import, you simply go to File, Import, Import to Library. Now once you have this, we will be bringing this animation into our first leg symbol, because that's where we'll be putting our focus first. So go into your character and double click on the right leg of that character to go into that symbol. Now in this symbol, you'll see that I have three different parts for the leg. I have the top part of the leg, the bottom, and the foot. Now depending on how you draw, you may have more details, therefore you may have more layers, and that's completely fine. But at the very, very least, I recommend that you have a top, bottom, and foot. That will easily allow you to move things around as you begin the animation process. Now, make a new layer for your walking animation that you just downloaded, and go to your library and bring the walking animation into Flash. So we'll just grab that symbol, click, and drag it in. Also make sure that the walking animation is a graphic so you can see what's going on the stage. So with that image selected, go to Properties and make sure that it's switched to graphic. And I will go to Modify, Transform, Flip Horizontal, just so she is facing the same way as my character, and I will enlarge it as well. Double click on your walking animation that you've imported to go into that symbol and to see how many frames it is made up of. And you'll see here, for mine, we have 51 frames. So I want to extend my character symbol out to that same amount of frames. So I will back out here then to my leg symbol. Then come over here to the top layer on the leg, hold in Shift, click the bottom layer, right click, and insert a frame. Now we can see the animation play out, and we'll be able now to mimic the movements as we go through. So now the next step is to start at frame 1 and position your leg to that of the right leg on the walking animation. Now, your animation isn't going to look identical to that of the imported image because everyone's animations look different. As you can see, my style here is completely different than that of this walking animation. However, it will allow you to position the legs correctly, and it should give you a good flow. So even though it won't be identical, it should help, and it should look, hopefully, it should look good once you are done. So to begin, let's just take the top leg here and rotate it like that with our free transform tool. And then come over here, move it about where we would think it'd be positioned according to the body here. And then we'll grab the bottom part of the leg, move it like that, and then just simply connect it with our top. And then take the foot, and we'll position it like that, and go like that. Now, we need to just to page through until the next change in the animation occurs, which is at frame 4 for me with this animated GIF. So, I will click on the top layer, hold in Shift, click on the bottom layer, right click, and insert a keyframe. With that keyframe, which indicates change, I can now change to this next position. So we're right here, and we have a slight change like this. Okay, now we go to the next change, and we insert those keyframes. And we once again just try to mimic what the animation looks like. So my legs are positioned a bit more downward now. They're not as curved or anything like that. So we'll put it right about there. And right here. Now, if at any time you are doing this and you mess up, you can always go back and change it. So go through and do what you think is best, and then when you're done, if it doesn't look correct, you can always go back and readjust the positions on any of the keyframes. So that's a good thing about this. Okay, our next frame is right here. And what it looks like here is the leg doesn't even really do much of a different position. It just kind of slides back a bit. So I'll just do the same. Okay, next position. We're starting to angle back a bit, so let's do the same. Okay, now we're starting to come back with the leg. Even if it's ever so slightly. Okay, so we'll move that over a little bit like that. Now we have the leg really moving. So move it over like that a bit. Position this more down. And angle this. Okay, now for this final frame, what I want to do is copy the first frames so that we can create a looping animation if needed. So I'll go back here to frame 1, and I will hold in Shift and copy those frames by right-clicking and hitting Copy Frames, then coming back here to this final frame and pasting. And then I can get rid of this keyframe that appears there. So now we should have a perfect looping animation take effect once we're all done here. Okay, so now if we go back through here and we just look at how this plays out, we should be pretty good, I hope. Another thing we can do too is turn on onion skinning, because that can help us as well when trying to determine what this animation is going to look like. And you can see here as we turn that on, you can come through and we can see kind of the range of what this particular animation looks like. So that's something you could do too. Even when you're adding in the elements, you can turn on onion skinning to see what everything will look like as far as previous and next frames to help you position your leg. Okay, so the only way we're probably going to see how this works is by applying the animation to the second leg. Now you could go in and animate that leg separately if you want, but we might be able to get away with copying that animation and basically just starting it at another frame. So first, let me do away with this animated GIF by just clicking on the layer and hitting the delete key, so we don't have that distraction going on. Now let's back out to our character symbol. And then what we did here was we made some changes in the leg, and my other leg was the same symbol as that leg. So that's why we have the same changes here. So I don't even have to copy this symbol to the second leg because it's already been done. So what I can do here now is put the looping for the second leg to frame 25 in my properties inspector. And what happens here now is the leg moves back and we have basically the animation play out from the middle onward in that symbol. The next thing I need to do is increase this symbol to 51 frames. So I will click the top layer at frame 51, hold in Shift, click the bottom, right click, and insert a frame. Now I can tell already that this might need some work because it appears that this leg should be back further. I could go into the animation and change that, which I probably should, so it also affects this leg as well. So I will double click to go back into that animation. And when this leg goes back, we want it to probably go back a bit further. So we'll, at this point, move it a little bit further. And then at this point, further like that. And then it starts to come back. There we go. We'll try that. I'll back now to my character. So if I hit enter and play this, we'll see how it looks. And you can see that the legs work for the most part. This leg right here might stick a little bit out too far. So I'm just going to nudge that symbol back like that. And we'll play it again. And I would say the same with this symbol as well. We'll just nudge it back. That way we don't have to go into the animation. And it looks pretty good. Now, it does look a little bit too slow, and the legs don't necessarily match the neck and the body, so that's a little bit off when it comes to that. But we can, again, correct that by adjusting the legs backward, and we can speed the animation up by removing frames within the leg animation. So let's double click to go back into one of these legs. Now you'll notice that we have all these spaces in between. Well, if we move all these frames up, we can make the leg go faster. So let's just click on frame 4 on the top layer and hold in Shift and click on the last keyframe on the bottom layer and just move everything up one frame. And now we can just keep doing that for all the other frames. Now the reason why this is a problem to begin with is because I was mimicking the animation that I brought in as much as I could. However, once you finish that process, it's simply a matter then of changing this and making it your own. Referencing something just allows you to get a start on it. After that, you can then modify it to how you see fit. Okay, there we go. And I will eliminate some frames here, like that. And now we have 34 frames of animation. That also means we have to adjust the starting point of our second leg then, because we no longer have 51 frames of animation. It's no longer going to start at frame 25, but rather frame 17, since that's halfway in between 34 frames. So we'll back out here to our main character and click on that leg and change the starting point to frame 17. Now if we play it, it's much more smooth. What I can also do now is eliminate the frames here to frame 34 on this character so that we can do the looping animation that we want to achieve here. So I will just come up here from frame 51 to frame 35, right click, and remove those frames. Since now we only do have 34 frames of animation going on in this animation. So now, just to see a very rough example of how this looks so far, we could go back out here to our main timeline. And we can insert a frame here. Let's say at about frame 50. Just insert a frame. And then right click on frame 1 and create a motion tween. Then at frame 50, we just move our character across the screen. Go back to frame 1 and hit enter. We can see this play out. Right now, of course, it's not entirely perfect. We still have some work to do, especially with moving the arms. And we could also maybe even add a bob to his motion as well. Maybe his torso and head and arms kind of go up and down a little bit as he walks. So that is something we could do as well. And it might be also the speed of the animation that throws it off for you too, if it's not looking exactly how it should yet. So what I would do next, if I were you, is go into your arm symbol and apply the same techniques I showed you for the legs. Just look at an animation and just try to mimic it as best as you can and line it up with the legs. And before you know it, you will have a walking animation coming into play. And finally, as I mentioned, you could then do some things with the torso, the head, the neck, and the arms by making them move a little bit with the legs, just to give it a more realistic looking effect as he walks across the stage. Anyway, I hope you found this helpful. I know the tutorial is a bit long, but if you stuck with it, hopefully this technique makes sense and you'll be able to apply it if you've been looking to do frame-by-frame animation. Anyway, I hope you guys found this helpful, and I'll see you guys next time.